Hey everyone, I just want to show you this tweet that's talking about long COVID because it's not really being talked about that much on the mainstream media, either in the West or even in China. I've spoken to so many Chinese people that know nothing about long COVID. It's really shocking, but not shocking because COVID isn't that big here. I mean, we have a huge response in China, as you know. Zero COVID is very intrusive. It affects everyone either a little or a lot, depending where you live. I live in Guangzhou. It hasn't affected us a lot, but obviously we have to do like daily tests sometimes, and well, that's about it. But so it does affect us, right? On in a small way, doing those daily tests. It's annoying, it takes up time, but in the big view, it's nothing. I'd rather do daily tests than have COVID or long COVID. But anyways, the point is very few Chinese people know about it because there isn't a lot of COVID around. We just have a lot of COVID response. But I think in the West, more people do know about it because a lot more people have COVID. Anyways, I just want to show this tweet that is documenting a lot of the long COVID. Have you known anyone who died of COVID or got long COVID? So as you can see here, we have Manny lost an aunt in February, 3 months after a COVID infection due to liver failure. People told her it was okay to attend weddings maskless because she was vaccinated. The vaccine and relax folks are doing just as much damage as the maskers and anti-vaxxers. Jordan leaves a really interesting comment. I like it. Some of these anti-vaxxers like me are ones that have experienced adverse effects from the shot. 8 months between infection and my shot have many long COVID symptoms. All started after the shot. Long COVID doesn't take 8 months to manifest, so there's a risk present. So he's saying some of these shots actually give long COVID symptoms. So, long COVID gives people blood clots and other such illnesses that complicate your breathing, complicate your vascular system, because it's like slowing down the blood flow. He's saying the shot also gives you the same symptoms, which is scary. Okay, Cynthia Paxton says, lost 2 family members to COVID, sister with long COVID, me almost 5 weeks past first, and hopefully only infection. More tired than while I was positive, some brain fog, fogginess. I tried so hard to never get it. Username Chansey says, about 5 now in real life with long COVID. I also know of someone who committed suicide because she gave her colleague COVID and then he died. Doug Horn says, definitely, I know multiple people with varying versions of long COVID, from minor to fully disabling. Scary. So that's why I'm pretty supportive of the Chinese government, CPC's zero COVID policy. It's not so hard as you might think. People can travel. You can still do basically, I would say 95% normal life. But if infections do arise, areas do get locked down. So for example, if they find a case in a building, they'll lock down the building and maybe a building nearby. So it's not like a full citywide lockdown. They're very surgical with it now. I think that's what they call the dynamic zero COVID policy. And I have to say I'm supportive of it only because I'm reading all these things about long COVID from the West. We're not reading it in China. No one's talking about it in China because no one's getting it. There's so few people getting COVID that even fewer people have long COVID. So it's not a topic in China. I saw the first article on long COVID just this week in an expat blog. And before that, I haven't seen anything about long COVID. And like I said, all my Chinese friends that I talk to know absolutely nothing about long COVID because they're complaining about the zero COVID policy. So I'm actually arguing with them, and I'm actually saying, hey, I kind of support it. So it's funny. Chinese people don't like their own policies, and here a Western guy, Chinese Canadian, whatever, is telling them that actually the policy is pretty good. It's kind of very funny, very ironic that, I don't know if it's ironic or not, but they don't appreciate their own government's policies. They always think their government sucks compared to the West or something like that. So they're always looking down on themselves. But man, it might be protecting millions of people, not just from death, but from disabling illness, disabling disease. I don't want to live the rest of my life breathless because of this stupid virus that is very preventable, and the Chinese government's doing a good job. You can't argue with that. They're doing a good job of not allowing it to let it rip, as some governments call it, right? Okay, let's keep going. So here, still wearing a mask says, yes, lost an aunt in September 2021. Know several with long COVID, but they won't admit it. The elephant in the room, Canadian actually, I just sent him a message, or her. I have long COVID going on 2.5 years. Being the founder of Canada's first support group, I got to know thousands with the condition. That's terrible. So glad I never got it. So glad I live in a country that follows medical guidance. Like I'm sure the WHO would support surgical and reasonable lockdowns, which I live in Guangzhou, China. Like, we're very lucky. Our city has never been locked down. The worst thing we've had in Guangzhou is that no dining in. So there's no dining in, but go outside, go for walks, whatever, do whatever you need to do. Like, no movies, no dining in for about, I think, 3 or 4 months, maybe more, maybe 6 months. Tara Nichols says, yep, two personally, one under 50. My kids, friend's uncle, super fit and healthy, and many clients and friends with long COVID. Not severe in terms of outward, but GI symptoms, brain fog and tight chest after 6 months for the win. That's sarcastic, of course. Truth T. During the first wave, I watched my 36-year-old neighbor's body being removed from his house. Died from COVID. As far as I know, he was healthy beforehand. Hazy Thompson says, died of COVID? Yes. Got long-term COVID? Yes, me. 945 days and counting. Died of long-term COVID? Yes, it took 8 months of mild COVID. So she knows people that have long COVID. She herself has it, and also knows people have died of COVID. Lip says, yes, Aunt died of COVID in 2020. Father-in-law has long COVID and 3 types of stage 4 cancer. He got right after a COVID infection from March 2020. Gwenter GR says, yes, a good friend died only 6 hours after being admitted. Okay, dying of COVID. But I'm more interested in the long COVID stories. Lisa Seymour Mikalek says, yes, several who have died. I have long COVID. Michael says, a friend's young child developed a small hole in their heart following a bout of COVID, which swept through the entire family. The kid is now going through regular medical consults. Lady Tran says, 14 family members as of Thursday from California, Philadelphia. Stop counting how many friends have died. Wow, that's not good. Just to check, are these bots or not? Because I am curious, because you never know. We're on the internet. You don't know if these accounts are real. Let's just check. Lisa Seymour Mikhail. Let's see if she's a real account. Let's go check. She joined July 2020. That's pretty legit. I mean, 2020 is a good time to join, but yeah, you never know. It could be fake. I mean, I just joined Twitter a few months ago. I never used that. I used YouTube. So I mean, I'm real, but I don't know. What do you think? Is that person real? Is this person real? Joined 2020 as well. Lip joined 2022. Okay, this person just joined a few months ago, so not sure if this one's real. Not sure. Hazy Thompson, is she real? She joined 2019. I don't know. You guys decide. I don't know. They could be real, they could not be real. It's both possible. So you gotta be skeptical with everything you see and read. These are all random people, so you can't tell. You can't tell if these are real stories or not. It's like, imagine if this whole thread was about Uyghur genocide, right? There could be hundreds of people talking about Uyghur genocide. You don't know if it's true, so I don't know if these are true either. But yeah, so I can't say. Okay, this person's definitely real. 2010. Unless you were planning COVID 12 years ago. Oh, we're gonna have COVID and we're gonna start this account just to push long COVID stories. I mean, that's without a question. Some people are definitely real. 2019. That's when COVID started. I mean, April 2008. That's before COVID. So she joined before COVID. Looks pretty real to me. I've got long COVID right now. Carla Powell. Let's see if her account is real or not. 2009. That's definitely real. She's from Canada as well. Hello, fellow Canadian. Carla Powell. If you believe, for example, that maybe the pharmaceutical companies are pushing long COVID, which they're not, because long COVID is not in the media. It's not being pushed. No one's talking about long COVID. Aside from me and some doctors, I guess. I mean, yeah, anyways, no one's talking about it. I want to talk about it because I want to raise awareness. And I think it's super important. I think it's important to know that I know some people that I really look up to, like Max Blumenthal. I really like Jackson Hinkle. They don't like lockdowns at all. Kim Iverson doesn't like lockdowns. I get it. I get that it can be used in a very authoritarian, in a very fascist way. I get it. But medically speaking, we do need to have some sort of lockdown, some sort of quarantine procedure to protect the masses, right? So, I mean, I love Max Blumenthal. I really enjoy Jackson Hinkle, who I've promoted on my show. And Kim Iverson's pretty good sometimes. I can't say I agree with her on everything or even a lot. But come on, lockdowns, you need to do them sometimes with pandemics. I mean, how else can you isolate groups of people that have the infection or may have the infection. So, I mean, I'm gonna take the unpopular view here. I mean, no, I know no one in the world is saying, "Yay, lockdown's great." I'm not saying that, but you do need to quarantine. I think that's the reason why that quarantine is like a 300-year-old word or more. Maybe it's even older, because that's something you need to do when epidemics happen. So it's an old word for an old reason. It works. It's simple, just isolating people with viruses so it doesn't spread. It's a very simple thing. And the funny thing is, it doesn't, generally speaking, it's not bad. I mean, you stay home for a few weeks, you watch movies, not that bad. I mean, yeah, in Shanghai, there were stories. I mean, in Shanghai, there's 25 million people. So, I mean, like mathematically speaking, most people were fine. But there were horror stories of pets being killed because, people would leave their homes and no one was taking care of their pets and they might have been infected. And I've heard of stories of pets being killed, which is terrible. And I absolutely condemn that. And I think it's terrible and stupid. There could have been way better ways to handle that. Absolutely stupid of the Shanghai government or whoever, or even the central, whoever promoted that. If it was the CPC, that was stupid. Whoever promoted killing of pets, absolutely terrible decision. I condemn it. And I heard other stories of people not being able to get food or water in Shanghai. But like I said, there's about 25 million people there. The majority of people were fine. So, aside for those horror stories, we got to look at the majority and the normal cases, what was really happening. That's why if we don't look at long COVID, we're not going to really understand what we're getting protected from, right? If you're just worrying about dying, okay, I can understand that you think lockdowns are stupid, but if you're thinking about long-term disability, then I think we could all agree we don't want that, right? We don't want that. So anyways, I just rambled for 5 minutes straight. Let's see what this doctor says. Heather Hanwell is a PhD and an NPH. Yes, 4 in my circle died from acute phase of COVID-19. Many people I know have varying forms of long COVID. One was a fit 40-year-old healthcare worker who avoided SARS-CoV-2 thanks to N95. Kid brought it home from school when mask mandates lifted, was hospitalized. 6 months in, he still can't work. So that's long COVID, guys. I don't want that. She joined in 2013, so I would say this is a very real person, unless they planned this pandemic 8 years ago, which they might have, and they planted her on Twitter for this purpose. I mean, that's possible, but to me, she looks legit. 2,000 followers. Oh, and she's Canadian. Yay, another Canadian. Cool. She's from Ontario. She's from my hometown. Thank you, Canadian, speaking the truth. Talking about long COVID. Awesome. So Jara, both my father and I have long COVID. Some people died from COVID. Let's see. 2020. I have no idea. I don't know if that's real or not. Dealing with old symptoms and have developed new issues stemming from an infection in July. So this person has long COVID, sounds like. This person joined in 2015. Looks pretty real to me. So yeah, it looks like a lot of totally legit, real users are talking about long COVID and that they know about it. So anyways, just wanted to show you that. I think this is a huge issue. I want to make it a big deal. That's why I started YouTube, to talk about things that the media might not be talking about. I hope you're all doing well. Hope you're all staying safe. I would recommend wearing a mask. That's just my opinion. Anyways, peace and love, guys. Take care.